Lesson 6, appreciation and depreciation. So appreciate means to increase in value over time, and depreciation means to decrease in value over time. So example 1, Charles Xavier has started his own business 2 years ago. With such success, his office space is no longer big enough, and he's considering these two options. So first, he's going to sign a 3-year lease on an office space with monthly rental payments of $2,000 and a refundable damage deposit of $2,000. But there is a penalty for breaking the lease. So we would take, for 3 years, 12 monthly payments of $2,000, and he'd end up spending $360,000. And that's how much it would cost him to lease this office. And remember, he has no equity because the the leasing company would still own this building. He wouldn't own it. His second option is to buy a house for $285 and renovate it so it could be used as office space. There would be a 5% down payment, and he would take out a 15-year mortgage at 5% compounded semi-annually with monthly payments. Assume appreciation 2% yearly. So first we're going to figure out the down payment. So we'll take 0.05 and times it by 285,000. And he would have to make a payment of $14,250. So now we're going to figure out the rest of his payments. So his N, he's going to be a 15-year mortgage with monthly payments. So 15 times 12 is 180 payments altogether. His interest rate per year is 5%. His present value is going to be the $285,000. Subtract the $14,250, so it's equal to $270,750. We don't know what the payment is, but we know that the future value is going to be 0. The payments per year are 12, and it's compounded semi-annually, so our compounds per year is 2. So we're going to type this into our financial calculator. So first we'll start with N, so we'll type 180N. So 180N. Then we're going to type 5IY. So 5IY. Now we're going to type 270,750 as our present value. So 270,750 present value. Our future value is 0, so 0 for future value. Now we need to go up. So we're going to go second function IY, and this will take us to our payments per year. Our payments per year are 12, so we'll type 12 and then enter. Then we are going to type in the up button to get to our compounds per year. So we type up, then we hit 2 and then enter. Now we want to close this screen, so we're going to hit second function compute. And our last step is to compute what we're looking for, so we're computing our payment. So we should get our payment to equal $2,133.85 per month. So to figure out our buying cost, how much it costs to buy this, we'll take the 2133.85, we're going to multiply it by 180, and we're going to add the down payment, which was $14,250. So altogether it costs $398,343. So this is more expensive than the $360,000, but you own this now. It is an asset. You have $398,343 to your name. But there's more because we've appreciated in value. So we're going to take the value of the house. We need to figure out how much this house is worth. And what that means is that if you were to sell this house at the end of that 20-year or 15-year mortgage, how much would the house be worth and how much would you gain? It also has to do with how much the bank values how much you have as an asset. So we have A, P, R, N, and T. And because it's compounding 2% yearly, it'd be 0.02. It's compounding per year, which is 1. Every year it's worth more, and this is happening for 15 years. And right now the house is worth $285,000. So we're going to find the new worth of the house. So we're going to type 285,000, 1 plus 0.02 over 1 to the power of 1 times 15, which is 15. So the new value of the house is $383 or $383,572.48. So to figure out the cost of the house, you're going to take how much the house is worth and how much you spent and subtract them. So you're going to take the 398,343 and you're going to subtract how much the house is worth, which is 383,572.48. So really, it only cost you $14,770.52 to buy this house because this is an asset to your name. So, for example, one, he's spending $360,000 and that's just an expense. For this one, you're spending all this money, but really, the only expense is $14,770.52. So it's much cheaper to do that. You own it. Another thing to keep in mind is if you keep this house for further years, it's probably going to continue to appreciate in value. So it's worth something for you. If you ever need to take out another mortgage on your house to pay for things, a line of credit, you have something to hold as collateral with the bank. It's counted as your assets. Something to keep in mind with renting and leasing houses is that once you're able to make a down payment and start paying a mortgage, it's so much more beneficial for you to pay a mortgage than to rent. Rent is like throwing money into the trash bin. It's helping you live, and that's important. You're paying to live somewhere, but your money isn't going anywhere. It's just going towards someone who's collecting that rent. Paying a mortgage is like paying money to yourself. It's like paying and investing into an investment because that house is your investment now. So you get an investment and you get somewhere to live. Even smarter would be to own a house and then rent it out because then you're gaining money. That's why lots of people often in university will buy a house and rent it out to roommates because the roommates help pay the mortgage, and instead of paying rent for the 4 years of university or however long that takes you, you're at least investing into something. Alright, example 2. James Howlett owns a luxury vehicle rental company, which depreciates the value of its vehicles each year over 5 years. At the end of the 5th year, the company writes off a vehicle for its scrap value. The company uses a depreciation rate of 40% per year. So we're going to figure out the scrap value and the initial value of each car below. So vehicles depreciate in value. They very, very rarely become more valuable because the moment you purchase a car, it's not worth what it was the minute before. So we're going to figure out how much they bought these vehicles for and how much they end up being able to sell them off as scrap metal at the end for. So we're going to make an amortization table. Alright, so we have the year, the value at the start, the depreciation, and the value at the end. So this one's saying that car A is currently 2 years old, and it has a value of $43,000 and $200. So at the end of year 1, or year 2, the value is $43,200. So that's how old this car is. So to figure out how much it depreciates, the value at the start of the year is $43,200. We're going to times it by 0.4. And the 0.4 then equals 17,280. So that's how much less the car is worth. To figure out how much it is at the end of the year, we're going to take this $4,300 and subtract the $17,280. And now at the end of year 3, this car is worth $25,920. Now we're going to do the same at the end of year 4. So 25,920 times 0.4. And now this car has a depreciation of $10,368. So this car is now worth, subtract 25,920 minus 10,368, and you get 15,552. And the last is after the 5th year. It starts at 15,552. We're going to times that number by 0.4, and you'll get 1,220 and 80 cents. Subtract those two numbers, and it's now worth 9,331 and 20 cents. So at the end of 5 years, the car has depreciated to a value of $9,331.20. So this is how much they can write the car off for at the end. We also want to figure out how much that car was initially worth. So we're just going to figure some things out. So we're going to let A be equal to year 3, how much the car was worth at year 3. We're going to let B be equal to year 2, and we're going to let C be equal to year 1, and we're going to let D be equal to the purchase price. So if we were to think about this, to figure out A, which is year 3, right here, we took year B and we subtracted year B times 0.4. So to find year 3, we took year 2 subtracted by 40% of year 2, which is the same as saying we have 60% of B. And we divide by 0.6, and that would help us find year 2. So A over 0.6 is equal to year 2. So just to show that this works, we're going to take our value for A, which was year 3, so 25,920, and it'd be equal to 0.6% of last year's rate, which is 43,200. And you do get 25,920. So what we're going to do now is we're going to figure out the previous years before. So before this, to figure out year 1 would be equal to, working backwards, year 2 is equal to year 1, subtract 40% of year 1. So year 2 is equal to 60% of year 1. Now we only know year 2 to be 43,200. So we're going to divide by 0.6 to find our year 1 value. And when we divide those numbers, we get $72,000. And to check this, if we take $72,000 and times it by 0.4, we get 28,800. And when we subtract those numbers, you get 43,200. Now we're going to figure out how much the purchase price was. So, with the same logic, year C is equal to 60% of the purchase price. So year 1 is equal to 60% of the purchase price. So 72,000 is equal to 60% of the purchase price. Divide by 0.6, and the car was purchased for $120,000. And to check that, we take 120,000 times by 0.4, which is 48,000. And subtract that, and you will get 72,000. So this car over 5 years depreciated from 120,000 to $9,331.20. And to think about that, 120,000 minus 9331.2 has a depreciation of $110,668.80. So in order for this company to make money off of these luxury vehicles, they're going to have to rent them out for more than that price over 5 years. This is just showing how fast a car can depreciate. It is depreciating more because it's a rental car company, and also because this is 40%. That's a high number, and it's probably because it's a rental or a luxury vehicle. Alright, car B is currently 1 year old and has a value of $75.60. So same thing, year 0, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. At the end of year 1, it has a value of $75,600. So we're going to take our value at the beginning of the year, beginning, depreciation, end, and I put an A, end. So 75600, and we're going to times it by 0.4. So 40% of that number is $50,400. Take 75,600 minus 50,400, and you should get, just kidding, I'm looking at the wrong part of the table. This should be 240. When you subtract that number, you should get 45,360. So I want you to pause the video and fill in the rest of this table for how much the car's depreciation is. So these are the numbers you should get for your values. So as you can see, the car is depreciated to a value of $9,797.76. We also want to figure out the purchase price. So we know we're going to take the value at the end of year 1, so 75600, and it's going to be equal to 60% of the purchase price. So we're going to divide it by 0.6. So the purchase price for this vehicle is $126,000. To check that, we would take $126,000, times it by 0.4, and you will get $5,400, so $50,400, and when you subtract those two numbers, you do get $75,600. So the amount it depreciated was $126,000, subtract $9,797.76, which is $116,000, or $202,000.24. So that is how much it's depreciated. Alright, last example, example 3. Two couples made decisions about whether to rent or buy. Gambit and Rogue bought a house for $249,900. They have negotiated a mortgage of 5% of the purchase price, so they will need a 5% down payment. The mortgage is compounded semi-annually at 5.5%, has a 20-year term, and requires monthly payments. Scott Summers and Jean Gray are renting a house for $1,600 per month. They plan to renew the lease yearly. So after 3 years, both couples decide to move out, probably because Jean Grey decided, I would much rather be with Wolverine than with Cyclops, but still, whatever. Gambit and Rogue discovered that the value of their house has depreciated by 10% over the 3 years. So unlike the first example, this house has depreciated, probably because they didn't take very good care of it. But we're going to calculate how much it would cost them over 3 years. So first, we'll start with Gambit and Rogue, and this is going to take a lot more space than Scott and Jean. So save your space. So they're going to make a down payment first, so $249,900, and we're going to times it by 0.05, and that would be a $12,495 down payment. So now the house is needs to be mortgaged for the initial cost. Subtract that $12,495. So they're getting a mortgage for $37,405. So we're going to use our financial calculator to figure out how much the payments are going to be per month. So when we're figuring out the payments per month, the mortgage is over 20 years. Just because they're doing it for 3 years doesn't mean that the mortgage payments would be any different. So 12 times 20 is 240. The interest rate per year is 5.5. The present value is 237,405. We don't know the payment. The future value is 0. The payments per year is 12. And the compounds per year is 12. So you're going to pause this video and type this into your calculator. You should get your payments to equal $1,624.78. So $1,624.78 per month. So that's the monthly mortgage payment. So now we're going to figure out how much of the mortgage is remaining after 3 years. So keep working down. I'm going to work to the other side right now. So we're going to have our N now is our mortgage payments, 12 payments per year for 3 years is 36 payments. Our interest rate is still 5.5. Our present value is how much that was worth, so $237,405. But now we know how much the payments are. So we know our payments are $1,624.78, and remember we have to put that in as a negative. Our future value is what we're looking for, how much is left on the mortgage. Our payments per year are 12, and our compounds per year is also 12. Oh, sorry. It's semi-annually, so this should actually be 2. Sorry if you were screwed up by that. So plug this all into your calculator. You should get your future value to equal $215,992.52. So this is how much we still owe. Alright, now we're going to figure out what the house value is. So it's depreciated by 10%. So we take our $249,900 and we're going to subtract 10% of that. So $249,900 and we're going to subtract times it by 0.1. And you should get $224,910 or $224,910. So that is how much you can sell the house for now. So when we resell this house, so we're reselling, we're going to take how much you can sell it for. So it's selling for $224,910. But we also have to take into consideration how much is left on the mortgage. So we're going to have to minus the $215,992.52 because that's how much we still owe the bank. So when they sell the house, they're going to come out of this with $8,917.48. So the total cost they end up spending for this is their down payment, so the $12,495, plus the monthly payments of $116.2478. But they gain money when they sell the house, so minus this $8,917.48. And when you multiply this all together and add it, the total cost they spent for 3 years to live in this house was $62,069.60. So that's how much it cost them to live there. Alright, to do Scott and Jean, they're renting the house for $1,600 per month, so times 12 for 3 years. And they ended up spending $57,600. So they spent less money over the 3 years than actually buying the house. So good for them.